Welcome to the EUP Sports Den podcast, which from here on out will be known as the DenCast. I'm one of your hosts, Scott Church, along with
Kevon Jackson.
Also in the room with us is our producer, Dave Bray. We're going to be talking about a lot of different things on this podcast, including, well, sports, obviously, since that's what we do here. We'll also talk about some general life circumstances as well to fill the time between sporting seasons. We're looking really forward to being with you guys and hope everybody tunes in and signs up and listens, and we'll get rolling. So basically what we're trying to do with our brand new podcast is we are trying to expand the brand and find another way to let people know what's going on in terms of local sports and athletes. We're almost at the 1 year mark, and we're very excited about some of the things we've done so far. We feel like we filled a void that was left after the passing of former Sioux News sports editor Rob Rose. A lot of what we're doing has been done with him in mind, and more than once I've struggled with the decision, and I found myself asking, what would Rob have done in this situation? Our podcast will include guests and interviews, as well as general sports talk and some life talk as well. Obviously, sports will be more prevalent when the school year starts and the seasons get rolling, but we'll be able to fill the time between now and then with other stuff. This time of year always brings about coaching changes, and there have been several in the Eastern Upper Peninsula this year. Doug Ingles has retired as the head coach of the St. Ignace boys varsity basketball team and has been replaced by longtime assistant Bridger Bokey. Tracy Peterson has been named the varsity boys basketball coach in Pickford after the departure of Steve McConkey, and the Sioux is currently on the hunt for a boys varsity basketball coach after the retirement of Coach Mike Fitzner. Each of these jobs presents unique challenges. In St. Ignace, you're replacing a legend. In Pickford, the expectations for that group of kids is through the roof, and in the Sioux, nearly the entire team graduated. The leading returning scorer finished with a grand total of 16 points last season, so that will be a huge challenge. So when you're talking about the St. Ignace situation, you're talking about replacing a guy who's in the UP Sports Hall of Fame, graduate of Gladstone, Northern Michigan University, and then coaching at St. Ignace for a number of years, taking the boys to numerous regional championship games, and just this past year in his final season, he and his son Johnny led the team to a semifinal appearance. They came up a little bit short, but just huge shoes to fill. Like I don't know if that's going to work for one guy in 1 year. I mean, it's going to have to be a longevity thing for Bridger.
Do you know anything about Mr. Bokey?
I know that he has worked with Doug for the past several years, and he's a qualified candidate to be the head coach. Right. Familiar with the boys, so he's got good rapport with the kids already, and I think he'll definitely do a good job. But they lost a lot of talent last year, and even though they have some young kids coming up, it's definitely going to be a process.
Okay.
In Pickford, Tracy Peterson represents a complete 180 from the coaching style of Steve McConkey, who was there up until last year. Steve was pretty laid back, and Tracy is definitely not. Tracy is a much more a personality type. Very good coach. The team will do well.
Can you speak to Steve's record? I guess what about, you said that he was laid back, but can you speak to his record? How did that work?
Steve took a team that went 2-18 in the regular season. He inherited that team, and then that team actually won a district, which is pretty unusual for a team with that poor a record during the regular season to go on and win a district championship. The following year, he posted a good record, and then this past year he posted a solid record last year. The boys started to lag towards the back half of the season, though, and that caused some concern as to coaching style and minutes and what have you. But Steve was a good coach. still is a good coach.
Right.
Great person. Pickford just felt like it was time to make a change. As far as the last coaching job that's open, Mike Fitzner just recently retired from Sioux High varsity basketball because his full-time job as a recruiter for My Michigan is going to have him in Alpena more often. So he's just not going to have the time to do the job the way he wants to do the job. So the issue that they're having right now, and that they will probably continue to have, is that they suffered mass graduation last year. Every one of their top 7 scorers graduated. Their top returning scorer finished with 16 points for the entire season last year. So they're going to be young, they're going to be inexperienced, and it's going to be a challenge for whoever takes that job.
That's really what it ends up being, right? Is an opportunity to mold newer students, to create a brand new team, to create a new team dynamic. And I honestly, I'm optimistic. I do think potential. There's so much potential in having a new setup and having a new coach and having, just a blank slate to work with. And I'm excited to see what happens.
I think a lot of people are excited because there'll be new opportunities for new kids. What that's going to look like on the court in terms of wins and losses, I don't know. But the coach is going to have to be patient. Parents are going to have to be patient because it's not going to happen overnight.
Right.
You're probably looking at a very tough season coming up because the Sioux schedule is no joke.
Right.
I mean, you're playing your Traverse City schools, you're playing Menominee. You're going to Menominee on a Tuesday night, and then you've got to be in class and at work the next day for 7 or 8 o'clock or whatever the case may be. So it's going to be difficult. I mean, I'm not saying it's impossible, but success is not going to be able to be measured in terms of wins and losses this year.
Do they have a boot camp that they do before?
They have a training camp of sorts. They have what they call conditioning week.
Okay.
So they spend that time with no basketballs out. They are strictly up and down the floor,
Right.
Conditioning, working on endurance, and then prior to the season, they'll have about 3 weeks, maybe a month of practice before their first game happens, and I'm sure there'll be a couple of scrimmages in there too, so that whoever the new coach is can get a little better feel for what he's going to be working with.
And we don't know who this new coach is going to be yet.
No, we do not know yet. The posting is still up.
Ooh.
They do have some applicants. I was not able to get names, but I know that they've got several applicants, but they have not posted interview times yet or anything like that. So that leads me to believe that they're still looking.
Right.
So
And this selection process, is it, so I'm assuming it's public, right? You just said that they post interview times. So like, are other people encouraged to join in on the process, or is it a black box, if you will?
No, it's what happens is it's internally posted at the school, and then I think they've posted it externally as well at this point. And so what'll happen is people will put in application, letter of interest, that kind of thing, and then when decide they're ready to hire, they will send out interview notices to the candidates that they feel like they want to interview. And then they'll conduct the interviews, and then a panel, usually 4 to 5 people, will conduct the interviews, and then they'll submit a recommendation to Pat Bennon, who's the athletic director at the Sioux, and then he will make his decision from there.
Ooh, a lot of pressure on Pat. Huh.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's exciting.
I think so. I think it'll be a new opportunity for somebody. Coach Fitzner's been there for a number of years now. So yeah, time for a new chapter.
Oh yeah. I mean, I love that there's so many new chapters starting right now.
And there's a couple more too. Out in Brimley, they're looking for a boys varsity football coach, as well as a boys varsity baseball coach. Those two coaches are resigning effective. Well, now I believe since both of those seasons are over.
Right.
So I know that Matt Bathy, who is the athletic director in Brimley, is putting a lot of feelers out trying to get somebody interested in taking those jobs.
Right.
So,
and what's the Brimley What's their record looking like? What is their reputation? Is there a lot of pressure to fill those positions, or is it more like an opportunity to have some growth?
There will definitely be opportunity for growth. Burnley football was okay last year. They've got a couple of good returning players, but they also lost a couple of very good football players at the end of last season. So they're going to have to deal with the challenge of kind of rebuilding and breaking in a new coach. In terms of the baseball team they were okay. Again, not great, but not terrible either. They were right around 500 over the course of the season, and then they lost to a very good Rudyard team in the district championship game after beating against Bark River Harris.
We'd like to take a small break right here to thank our sponsor, Norris Contracting, for supporting the DenCast and our mission. Thank you, Norris Contracting, for all your contracting needs.
So one thing that we would like to do either this summer or possibly next summer is to create some relationships with our local golf courses and go out and play the course in exchange for a feature story write-up along with a series of gallery photos. We're hoping to do these features on area golf courses. And funny story about one of our local golf courses is Rob Rose and I were working on a project together, writing feature stories, and we went to the Hiawatha Sportsman's Club in Nobbinway, and it was a very nice golf course. They claim that on one of the holes, and I'll never remember which one because it was years ago, the elevation is high enough that you can see, on a clear day, you can see Lake Superior and Lake Michigan.
Whoa.
Now, that didn't happen for us, but it's possible that it could happen, I guess.
Was it not a clear day?
It was not a clear day.
Oh.
But the funny thing about this golf course is they were very nice to us, but they also made it clear that they were not wild about over publicizing their little sanctuary. They made it very clear to us that they were happy to let us play golf there. They were happy to have the write-up, but they didn't want people who didn't normally go there to start going there.
Now, was it like they didn't want the undesirables, if you will, or was it more like this is our community golf course?
This is our community golf course. You know, we have certain people that already come here, and that's enough for us. We don't need the general public. We don't need. They weren't hunting money, or they weren't hunting publicity. You know, they just wanted people to know that they had a little slice of heaven right there, and
and you're not welcome that way.
You're sort of welcome. Just don't bring a car full of people with you. You know, it was one of the more weird exchanges I've ever had at a golf course, because most of the time they are doing everything they can do to get publicity, to get more people there, to drive that revenue. And these people could not have cared less about that.
That's kind of beautiful, though. I like it.
It was refreshing. It was different.
Yeah.
It was, if I'm being honest, it was a little weird.
It is a little weird.
But,
I mean, you kind of assume that a company is designed to generate revenue or to turn a profit.
It was just a very weird feeling. Rob and I played the whole 9 holes talking about that brief exchange with him, like, what in the hell is happening right now?
Well, it's very exclusive, which
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I think exclusivity kind of runs in the tradition of golf courses, right? I think that golf courses historically have been very exclusive,
well,
if you
but
will.
I do want to be clear, though, that they weren't exclusive in the sense that, you know, it was some guy wearing a Captain Sailor's hat, you know, looking down his nose at you saying, ahoy, Palloy. It wasn't that kind of situation at all. It was just they have their clientele, and they don't necessarily care to have more.
Sounds like the plot of Caddyshack, too.
Their clientele must be young.
I think it's the opposite. I think their clientele is hunters, fishermen
Mm.
who come up and summer up there or have lots of free time. I mean, they weren't snobby.
Yeah.
They were just private,
Yeah.
and they were nice. They were super nice to us, but it was one of the more odd exchanges I've ever had.
Poor business model.
Doing that.
While you were in Nobbinway, did you go to the Snowmobile Museum?
No.
It's a wasted trip.
There's only been...
It's the other thing in Nobbinway.
No, that's... Hog Island is right by Nobbinway.
Are there pigs on the island?
No, it should actually be called Gull Island, but it's a rustic campground right along US 2.
Okay.
And it is fantastic. Like it's my wife...
Big Knob, isn't it?
What's that?
Isn't that Big Knob? Like just past 117 on US 2.
No, this is well before that.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
This is about, where the Cut River is? Garland Zoo.
There we go.
It's right by the Garland Zoo.
Oh, okay.
But it's a rustic campground, and a majority of the campsites sit right on the lake. And it's super nice, super scenic, very private. And my wife's family's been going there for 30 years, and I was introduced to it when we got together, and I very much enjoy that place. So that's my other Nobbinway place.
Gotcha.
That and the Garland Zoo, of course.
I want to go to the zoo.
It's fun.
That's what I keep hearing.
It really is. They have peacocks.
Oh, really?
They have peacocks. They have goats. They've actually got a lot of attractions there.
Huh. Well, now I know what I'm doing next year because I probably won't make it this year.
I've golfed. I think I've golfed all the courses in our area, and there's a lot of nice courses up here. Probably the nicest course I've ever golfed on is not in our area, but for that same project that we were doing, we sort of expanded our coverage area a little bit and went down to Black Lake near Onaway. I actually felt guilty when we left that golf course because I was such a bad golfer. I tore the course up a little bit trying to hit the ball. It was not one of my better days, but the course down there is absolutely amazing.
Now, was that your favorite or was that just the nicest?
That was the nicest. My favorite in the area is probably Wild Bluff.
Mm-hmm.
But the Rock on Drummond Island is also incredible. Like I've never been to a golf course where no matter what hole you're on, all you see is that hole. Like most of the time you can look out and you can see other tee boxes or other greens, and when you're on number 5 at the Rock, all you see is number 5. And it's a beautiful golf course. A lot of wildlife. We've seen countless deer out there while we played. My brothers and I have a get together every year where it's called groupgolfer.com, and you can buy, like for us, in our case, it's 2 rounds of golf and 1 overnight stay at the resort for under $100, which is obscene because most of the time the 2 rounds of golf would cost you well over $100.
Wow.
So we do that every year, and we get together and play, and it's a lot of fun. We have a good time, and like I say, it's a beautiful course. So,
what makes a golf course good? Like, what raises its value, in your opinion?
Well, there's probably several factors. The first one is the scenic aspect of it for me. If a golf course is pretty or beautiful, obviously it's more fun to play that because you find yourself constantly looking around, thinking to myself, "Oh my gosh, this is amazing." You forget about the fact that you're a shitty golfer, and you don't worry about that so much, because you're focused on look at the sunset through the trees. Look at that deer over there. That plays a big part in it for me personally. The second thing is I don't want to play a golf course that's so hard. I'm a bad enough golfer as it is. And when you play a course that's well beyond your skill level, you don't enjoy it at all. You know, you might enjoy looking at it, but you certainly don't enjoy playing it, because even when you hit what is a good shot for you, the course immediately just spits that out. You know, you might hit a shot up on the green, but the greens are so fast because it's actually professionally maintained that the ball just rolls off the other side and won't stay. You know, stuff like that. How much water is on a golf course, for example. If there's a lot of water on a golf course, it's harder for me to play because it gets in my head that I don't want to hit it in the water, and I inevitably end up hitting it in the water.
Yeah. That makes sense.
And obviously price plays a role too.
Yeah, what is now for a golf course? Because I don't golf, but I know people who do, and I've heard some pretty cheap prices quoted at me, and I've heard some pretty obscene prices quoted at me. And what is a normal?
Well, you can play Tanglewood here in the Sioux, for example, for about $25 for 9 holes with a cart. And all of our area golf courses are really good about posting their prices right on their websites, so you could go there and take a look. Obviously the Rock and Wild Bluff are 2 of the more expensive ones, but they're also 2 of the nicer ones.
Right.
Sioux Country Club is pretty reasonable. Muskogee is reasonable. The Oaks in Kinross, which by the way is a very undervalued course, is also reasonable. Gosh, there's Les Chenaux. There's also what used to be Hessel Ridge, and I can't remember what they call it now. But that's a beautiful golf course as well. We just played one. My wife and I just played one the other day that I was anticipating it being a little dumpy hole in the wall kind of place, and it turned out to be the exact opposite. The Mackinac Club in Mackinac City, because it's surrounded by such nice courses, you know, like the Jewel on Mackinac Island. Some of the other golf courses around the area anyway are really nice. And I wasn't expecting much when we went there, but as it turns out, I would go back and play that course again in a heartbeat. Yeah. Maybe one of the more.
I would love to play on Mackinac Island. I feel like that would be really beautiful.
On Mackinac Island, you have a couple of very different choices. You can either play the Jewel, which is just a stunning golf course. It's amazing. Or you can play Wawashkamo, which is a little deeper into the island, and it's a golf course where you can play with. It's a links style course, and so it plays a little bit differently in the sense that sometimes the green will be completely surrounded by a hedge. So you can't just roll the ball up on the green. You've actually got to hit it over something.
The hedge.
Yeah.
And get it inside.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they will, for a fee, of course, allow you to play with the clubs that golf originated with.
Really?
Yeah, like they're 2 of them are called, one's called a Mashie and one's called a Niblick. And you can play with those clubs for, I can't remember how much they charge you to use them, but it's...
yeah, if I'm not mistaken, golf is Scottish, yeah?
Yep.
Okay.
But it's a very different experience to play Wawashkamo. It's fun, but it's different. Like, it's a total different game than playing at the Jewel or, you know, any typical golf course.
Well, see, now you've got me interested. I never wanted to. Well, I did want to play a little bit when I was younger, but that was just because Tiger Woods was really popular, and my grandmother was like, "You could be like him," and I was like, "I'm not Asian," so. But I get it now. I get what she means now.
It can be fun.
Yeah.
It can also be the most incredibly frustrating thing you do on any given day. I play every Monday and a lot of Wednesdays, and some nights I come home and I'm ready to go out and play right away again. Last Monday night I came home and I wouldn't have cared if I never played golf again. So, thank you guys for listening, and girls, and we'll talk to you soon.